Hi guys. Today I thought I would go back and do part 2 of a thing that I had started last year, and that was childhood movies that messed me up. So I have one of those already and I'll link it above, but I thought I would continue on, and I liked the idea of just talking about 2 of them at a time. So today we are going to talk about 2 movies from the 80s that I watched when I was little and that really disturbed me. So the first one is The Dollmaker, and I'm not completely sure that this is the movie that I'm thinking of, but it was a movie that I am almost 100% certain that I did not watch all the way through. It was probably a really boring movie for someone like me, but it was one of those things that was on the television, and flipping through I happened to see something that caught my interest, and then I watched for a while. And let me tell you, this has haunted me for years. It has haunted me to such a great extent that anytime I see a train, I think about it, and I have told people about this part in the movie, and I also have built it up in my brain to be much different than what it is. That is why I'm not totally certain that this is the movie that I am indeed thinking about. Anyway, so I remember there was a little girl and she was playing underneath some train cars, and I think she had dolls. And she was playing there with her legs hanging over the train track. So her body is underneath the train car, her leg is hanging over the iron rail. And in the train yard, they would bump one car into another, and then that would just continue. It would just continue down. They would bump each other, and they would move a little bit. Well, I remember the little girl playing, someone running, trying to save her, and then her legs got sliced off. I remembered just the kid getting really pale, and the train severing the legs and blood spurting and all that stuff. And it stuck with me for a long time. It freaked me out. I did not want to play around trains. I did not want anything to do with them. And it just like worked its magic in my brain, because obviously that is not what happens in this movie. This movie is a made-for-TV movie, so already it can't be that bloody. Jane Fonda was the mother, so she was the one who was running through the train yard frantically trying to get either the train to stop or the kid to, get out from underneath. And she's running like a crazy person trying to get this kid, and I think she ends up bundling the kid in some blankets. The father arrives, and I think it's Levon Helm from the band. The father arrives and they take the kid to the hospital, where of course she dies because her legs got cut off and you bleed out pretty fast from something like that. And anyway, yeah, it was nowhere near as bloody. It took me a long time. I had to Google a lot of things trying to find out, movie where a kid is playing under train, gets legs cut off, and the only thing that ever came up consistently was The Dollmaker. So Tim and I found that it was on YouTube, and I was like, we have to see this, we have to see that part of the movie. And so we put it on, and I was like, no, it has to have been edited. He's like, I don't think it's been edited. So I'm pretty sure that that is the movie that I saw, and it messed me up so much that I embellished greatly in my mind. So, Dollmaker, that's the first one. Second one is Willow. I loved that movie. I watched it with my cousins a lot. They taped it from the TV, and when I would go over, we would pop that in. There are a couple other movies that I could talk about later, but yeah, we would pop that in, we'd watch that, and there's just so much creepiness in that movie that I loved, but it also was upsetting to me. Off the top of my head, what I can remember is Mardigan. He is in that cage just hanging there waiting for things to pick at him, the crows and buzzards, and just the desolate scenery and the the color palette, it was so stark and just, it was very cold and lonely and chilling, and it just was spooky. Like, it gave me the chills watching that. There was the scene with the devil dogs. I think they showed up a couple times, and those things looked pretty scary. The general, I don't remember his name. The general who had the skull for the face mask, he was pretty intense, and that was a really badass mask. I mean, if of all the movies that I've ever seen and of all the medieval fantasy warrior masks, that is the most badass mask I've ever seen in my life. And he was pretty creepy. His horse was pretty intense. His horse was awesome, but yeah, it was all very unsettling. The horse had a crazy mask too. Then we had, there's just so much in this movie. The trolls that were creeping along underneath the bridge, they're just so gross and so fast, and ugh, it was disturbing. And then when Willow, I think, doesn't he kill one of those, and then it like transforms into that monster with the long necks and the heads, the multiple heads. That thing was creepy. It was pretty cool, but it was still creepy. And then we had Bavmorda. She was terrifying, and she had that scene where her skin was all old and gross, and she was like flying around the room and electrocuting people, and just, yeah, all that stuff served to really intrigue me, and I loved it, but at the same time it just gave me chills, and my imagination once again just kind of ran wild, and I had a hard time sleeping sometimes because I would think about that. But movies like that, you know, have shaped my love of the spooky. Let me know down below if you have watched either of these movies, if you have any movies where you completely ran wild with them in your brain and ends up being nothing like what you thought. I know there have been some people that I've talked with who insist that you see Rosemary's Baby in the movie, stuff like that, and it's just like, they really believe it. They think that you look at the baby, and we do not see Rosemary's Baby in that movie. You know, it's just, it's interesting to me what your brain will do when there are gaps that it wants to fill in. And, you know, there are tons of movies where I think even if you've seen them a million times, you can misremember them, or you can add in detail or subtract detail or something like that. There are tons of movies that I've watched a lot, and then I watch it again, and something I never noticed before stands out. It's so bizarre. So bizarre. So let me know if you guys have any movies like that where you, or if you know of someone and, you know, they think something about a movie that's just completely wrong. Have a spooky day.